Hey, what's going on, Archons? Welcome to another edition of KeyThoughts. My musings on this great game of KeyForge. And have I been musing lately? Have I been musing lately just thinking about a couple things? So, a few weeks ago on the podcast, Help from Future Self, for those of you who don't know, we had June on who talked about her Vault Tour winning deck that she had played over 1,000 times. I was like, interesting. And then most recently on Help from Future Self, we had Joe, aka Zodid, on the podcast talking about he hadn't played his deck at all before going to a Vault Tour. And he didn't win it, but he was top seed going into the final 8. And I was thinking about those two things and different aspects about it. And since June had come on, I had been contemplating the idea of playing a deck that many times, because I don't even think I've hit 100 with any deck yet that I've had for 4 years. Haven't hit 100 with those decks yet. But it made me think, is there a point where learning a deck, you can just discover more by playing it more? And the conclusion that I drew myself was that I think having the ability to archive things or store things away in some way, change the composition of your deck, maybe it's through purging so you have less in it, is really where doing more and more reps becomes the most valuable. And I may be controversial in saying this. I think if you don't have a way to change the cards you have available to you when you cycle, or to build to a certain type of turn, or hold off playing a house, things of that nature, I think the value is less in playing more and more. I think you're going to discover all the tips and tricks and best lines sooner than when you can remove things from the deck in flipping it and shuffling up again, or even pulling something and then having a majority of a certain house of cards or certain types of cards available to you. I think there is a big difference. So when you can play a deck that doesn't have essentially any archiving, any way of storing cards in some way, drawing in a different way, and the way you want to use the draws, I think those are where you get to a point where I think there's a ceiling of learning, and you're just going to understand and you're going to play, and it's going to be enjoyable and all those things that come with knowing a deck well. But I think when you can suddenly make your deck smaller in some way, or store a part of your deck so you don't have to use it, it completely changes the composition of what you're going to do. I know that Jacques, which is Nova's winning deck, purges things and purges her opponent and her own deck to achieve a result that she is looking for, to make her deck more efficient and to make the opponent's deck less desirable and key pieces not being a part of it. And I think that's really interesting from that standpoint. So you're actually trimming a deck to make it more efficient and play the way you want. And so the more you play, the more you're going to understand, when I remove this, it creates this opportunity, or when I remove this, oh, this isn't as good. And I've been trying that, and I really am focusing on these Logos archiving decks right now. And I want to find these different versions and how it works to really do well archiving. I think Memory Chip is a big one that can help with that, because Memory Chip is going to allow you to, every time you call Logos, have that happen. I've been even doing experiments where I'm like, I'm not going to call this house at all, and if I am, it's just because I just want to filter my deck a little bit more, or cycle my deck a little bit more, should I say. But things like Igor are going to really help as well. So you want things like Igor. Anything that can do mass archiving is really important. So Titan Mechanics, is that the one? I think that's the one. The ones that let you archive at the end of your turn. Doing those things, I think, are going to be really strong decks. And I've been practicing actually, where I'm like, I'm not even going to really call this house. Just put it all away. Any archiving opportunity, if it's shadows, all my shadows goes away, and I'm just playing with the other two houses. So the reason why I like the Igors in this situation is because you're going to actually go through your deck faster, churn it, and then as a result, you're going to get to flip it with less cards. So that's ideally what you want to do, is how fast can you flip with things stored, and just work that way. So I'm really working on this idea and playing more and more, and seeing if by playing a deck hundreds of times, if I get to that point where I realize that I actually should be doing this over this in terms of removing it and seeing how my deck plays. So I really want to focus on that moving forward in different capacities and seeing what it looks like. And I'm curious of your thoughts. Have you found this? Like, there's certain decks when you can change the composition of your deck, the more you play it, the more you understand what parts you want to change, versus if you have no interactions with certain things in your deck, how does that also change? So there's obviously cards that you can, I think, purge creatures from discard, stuff like that. Maybe get rid of the less desirable creatures that don't really help, so your deck is more thin. So all these things have been crossing my mind. I'm really on this journey right now. I'm excited to keep updated with how I progress within this. I may even go in Alliance with a sort of thing, but I'm taking a break from Alliance right now. I've been pretty heavy on Alliance for the last couple months. I was on a journey that I've concluded. Now I'm actually going to focus on Archon for a bit and getting to know some decks. So there's a couple decks I have that I've known for quite a long time, and I want to see how they go under this new guise. So stay tuned, and we'll check in soon. Please let me know your thoughts on this idea and your own experiences. And as always, folks, may your ember never be stolen and your keys forged promptly. Have a good one.